The journey of Mary Magdalene to Sinai. The shadow of the cross, Jerusalem, 33 CE. The air was thick with dust and sorrow. The crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth had shaken the city, leaving his followers scattered and fearful. Among them was Mary Magdalene, a woman whose heart burned with devotion to the man she called teacher. She had stood at the foot of the cross, her tears mingling with the earth as Jesus breathed his last. But in the chaos of his death, Mary carried a secret, a burden entrusted to her by Jesus himself. Days before his arrest, in a quiet moment in Bethany, Jesus had taken Mary aside. His eyes, filled with both love and urgency, met hers. "Mary," he said, "the world is not ready for all I have taught. There is a truth, a code of the soul, that must be protected until the time is right. You, my faithful one, must guard it." He handed her a small leather-bound codex, its pages filled with his words in Aramaic, written in a script only his closest disciples could decipher. "Take this to the mountain of God, to Sinai where Moses once stood. Hide it there, and let it wait for those who seek with pure hearts." Mary had clutched the codex to her chest, her resolve hardening. She knew the dangers. Roman soldiers patrolled the roads, and the Sanhedrin sought to crush any remnant of Jesus' movement. But she also knew the weight of her task. The codex contained teachings unlike those in the public sermons, instructions for awakening the divine spark within each soul, a path to commune directly with God without priests or temples. Jesus called it the Code of Sinai, a teaching that could unite humanity but also threaten those who wielded power through fear. Now with Jesus gone, Mary stood at a crossroads. The other disciples urged her to flee to Galilee, to hide among the fishing villages. But Mary's path was clear. She would journey to Sinai, across deserts and dangers, to fulfill her promise. The codex, tucked beneath her cloak, was her guide and her burden. Chapter 1. The Flight from Jerusalem. Mary slipped out of Jerusalem under the cover of night, her face veiled to avoid recognition. The city gates were guarded, and rumors of Jesus' resurrection had stirred unrest. Roman centurions searched for his followers, suspecting rebellion. Mary carried only a small satchel with bread, a water skin, and the codex, its weight both physical and spiritual. Her first destination was Hebron, a town south of Jerusalem where she hoped to find allies among the Essenes, a mystical Jewish sect rumored to have known Jesus. The road was treacherous, lined with bandits and Roman patrols. As dawn broke, Mary heard the clatter of hooves behind her. A small group of soldiers, led by a grizzled centurion named Gaius, had spotted her solitary figure. "Halt!" Gaius barked, his hand on his sword. "State your business, woman." Mary's heart raced, but she steadied her voice. "I am a pilgrim, traveling to pray for my family," she lied, lowering her eyes to seem meek. Gaius studied her, his gaze lingering on her satchel. For a moment she feared he would search it, but a distant shout distracted him. A merchant's cart had overturned on the road. Gaius cursed and waved her on, his attention diverted. Mary pressed forward, her steps quickening. By nightfall she reached a small Essene outpost near Hebron, hidden among olive groves. There she met Rachel, an elder of the community with piercing eyes and a quiet strength. Mary revealed her mission, showing Rachel the codex. The older woman's face softened as she traced the Aramaic script. "This is no ordinary teaching," Rachel whispered. "It speaks of the soul's union with the divine, a truth the powerful fear. You must protect it, but you cannot travel alone." Rachel offered Mary a guide, a young Essene named Eli, skilled in desert survival and fiercely loyal to the cause of truth. Eli, barely 20, had a quiet intensity and a knack for reading the stars. Together they planned their route to Sinai, a grueling journey across the Negev desert, through hostile territories to the sacred mountain. Chapter 2. The Desert's Trials. The Negev was a merciless expanse of sand and stone, where the sun scorched the earth by day and the nights brought biting cold. Mary and Eli traveled by twilight, using the stars to navigate. Eli taught Mary to conserve water, to read the tracks of scorpions and snakes, and to find shelter in rocky outcrops. But the desert tested more than their bodies. It challenged their spirits. One night, as they camped beneath a jagged cliff, Mary opened the codex, her fingers trembling. She read aloud a passage Jesus had written. "The kingdom of God is within you, a seed waiting to bloom. Seek it not in temples or scrolls, but in the silence of your heart. The code of Sinai is the key. Love, surrender, and unity with all that is." Eli listened, his eyes wide. "Why hide such words?" he asked. "Why not shout them to the world?" Mary sighed. "Because the world seeks power, not truth. These teachings would be twisted, used to divide rather than unite. Jesus knew this, and so he entrusted them to us, to wait for a time when hearts are ready." Their conversation was cut short by a rustling in the darkness. Eli grabbed his staff, his senses alert. A band of bandits, drawn by the flicker of their fire, emerged from the shadows. Their leader, a scarred man named Barak, demanded their supplies. Mary stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We have little, but we offer peace. Take our bread, but leave us to our journey." Barak laughed, but something in Mary's gaze, her unshakable resolve, gave him pause. Perhaps it was the divine spark Jesus had seen in her, or perhaps it was simple exhaustion, but Barak took the bread and retreated, muttering about holy fools. Mary and Eli continued, shaken but unharmed. Chapter 3. Betrayal in the Wilderness. As they neared the border of Edom, Mary and Eli sought refuge in a small trading outpost. There they met a merchant named Tobias, who claimed to be a sympathizer of Jesus' followers. Tobias offered them shelter and supplies, his smile warm and his words kind. But Mary sensed a flicker of deceit in his eyes. Still, with their water skins nearly empty, they had little choice but to accept his hospitality. That night, as Mary slept, Tobias crept to her satchel and attempted to steal the codex. Eli, ever watchful, caught him in the act. A struggle ensued, waking Mary. Tobias, cornered, confessed. He had been paid by a Sanhedrin agent to track Jesus' disciples and seize any writings they carried. The codex, he admitted, was rumored to hold dangerous heresies that threatened the temple's authority. Mary's heart sank, but her resolve hardened. She tied Tobias to a post, leaving him with enough water to survive until help arrived. "You sought to betray the truth," she told him, "but the truth will outlast you." She and Eli fled before dawn, knowing the Sanhedrin's agents were closing in. The betrayal shook Eli's faith. "How can we protect this teaching when even those who seem kind turn against us?" he asked, his voice heavy with doubt. Mary placed a hand on his shoulder. "The path of truth is narrow and fraught with thorns, but every step we take honors the teacher. Trust in that, Eli." Chapter 4. The Mountain of God. After weeks of travel, Mary and Eli reached the foot of Mount Sinai. The mountain loomed before them, its peaks shrouded in mist, a place of divine encounters since the days of Moses. Mary felt a surge of awe, as if the codex itself pulsed with energy in her hands. But their journey was not over. The codex's final page contained a cryptic instruction: "Seek the cave of light, where the stars align with the heart of the mountain. There the code of Sinai shall rest." Eli, skilled in astronomy, studied the night sky. He noticed that the constellation Orion, mentioned in the codex star map, aligned with a narrow ravine on Sinai's eastern slope. They climbed, their bodies aching, until they found a hidden cave entrance, its walls etched with ancient symbols resembling those on the codex's cover. Inside, the cave was illuminated by a shaft of moonlight, reflecting off a smooth stone altar at its center. Mary knelt before the altar, her hands trembling as she placed the codex upon it. She felt a presence, as if Jesus himself stood beside her. In that moment, she understood the true purpose of her journey, not merely to hide the codex, but to embody its teachings. The Code of Sinai was not just words on parchment. It was a way of living, a call to love and unity that could transform the world. But their peace was short-lived. A group of Sanhedrin agents, led by a zealous priest named Malachi, had tracked them to Sinai. Malachi, driven by fear of Jesus' lingering influence, demanded the codex. "Your teacher was a blasphemer," he spat, "and his words will die with you." Mary stood firm, her voice steady. "The words of truth cannot be silenced. They live in every heart that seeks the divine. Destroy this codex, and still they will rise." Eli, inspired by Mary's courage, stepped forward, staff in hand. A tense standoff ensued. Malachi's men outnumbered them, but a sudden tremor shook the cave, dislodging rocks and blocking the entrance. In the chaos, Mary and Eli slipped deeper into the cave, finding a hidden passage that led to the mountain summit. Chapter 5. The Legacy of the Code. At the summit, under a canopy of stars, Mary and Eli realized the codex was no longer with them. It had been left on the altar, likely buried in the cave's collapse. But Mary felt no loss. The teachings were etched in her soul, and she knew others would one day find them, guided by the same divine light that had led her. She turned to Eli, her eyes shining. The code of Sinai is not bound to parchment. It is in us, in every act of love, every moment of surrender to the divine. We must carry it forward, not as keepers of a secret, but as bearers of a truth. Eli nodded, his doubt replaced by purpose. They descended the mountain, vowing to share Jesus' teachings in whispers, in acts of kindness, in moments of quiet rebellion against a world ruled by fear. Mary Magdalene never returned to Jerusalem. Some say she traveled to distant lands, spreading the seeds of the code. Others claim she lived quietly in a desert community, teaching those who sought her out. But the Cave of Light remained, a silent guardian of the codex, waiting for a future generation to uncover its truth. Echoes in time, centuries later, in 2025, a Bedouin shepherd stumbled upon a collapsed cave near Mount Sinai. Among the rubble, he found a leather-bound codex, its pages brittle but intact. Scholars would later debate its authenticity, but those who read its words felt a stirring in their souls, a call to seek the divine within, to love without fear, to unite as one. The Code of Sinai, hidden for millennia, began to whisper once more, a testament to the courage of a woman who carried it through the desert, against all odds.